We are often incredibly good at pouring our energy into other people. We offer patience to our friends, grace to our families, and empathy to strangers, all while our own internal reserves are running completely dry. This exhaustion stems from a common societal equation. We are taught to equate self-care with selfishness, operating on the assumption that keeping any emotional energy for ourselves means depriving someone else. Over 2.5 millennia ago, Gautama Buddha addressed this exact tension. He said, "You can search throughout the entire universe for someone who is more deserving of your love and affection than you are yourself, and that person is not to be found anywhere." It is a striking contradiction. Why would history's most famous advocate for extreme selflessness and compassion insist that you prioritize your own affection? To understand that, we have to look at the person behind the title. Long before he was revered as a spiritual icon, he was simply a philosopher and teacher named Siddhartha Gautama. According to historical tradition and archaeological records, Siddhartha was born into absolute privilege. He was a prince of the royal Shakya clan in Lumbini, surrounded by walls constructed to keep all suffering and hardship out of sight. His realization about self-worth emerged from surviving two violently opposed extremes of human existence. The first phase of his life was defined entirely by excess. He had unlimited access to material luxury, high status, and constant sensory pleasure. Dissatisfied with this hollow existence, he renounced his royal titles, left the palace behind, and entered the world as a wandering ascetic, carrying nothing but a simple alms bowl to seek universal truths. This began the second extreme phase of his life. He subjected himself to severe physical deprivation, starvation, and punish and bodily discipline, believing that breaking his physical form would elevate his mind. We can map these two physical phases directly onto modern psychology. On one side, you have boundless indulgence, which mirrors unchecked narcissism. On the other side is harsh asceticism, functioning much like brutal self-criticism and self-loathing. Siddhartha spent years living in both realities, and he discovered that neither extreme offered spiritual freedom. Whether drowning in luxury or starving in the forest, the result was exactly the same: suffering. The turning point finally occurred in the region of Bodh Gaya. Rejecting both methods, he entered a state of deep meditation, eventually attaining nirvana, or enlightenment. From that moment on, he was known as the Buddha, meaning the awakened one. The core architecture of his new philosophy was something he called the middle way. It is a deliberate path that actively rejects the trap of blind indulgence and the harm of extreme deprivation. This diagram outlines the relationship. The middle way operates as the exact, stable center point between those two previously destructive extremes. It requires active practice to maintain this balance. The middle way relies on specific, practical tools: mental discipline, sense restraint, and continuous mindfulness. When you apply the mechanics of the middle way to your own psychology, it becomes the working definition of self-love. It is the only sustainable baseline for human existence. Treating yourself with a baseline of respect yields practical results. When you value your own well-being, you build genuine emotional strength and internal confidence. If you are operating from a place of intense self-deprivation, it is nearly impossible to form healthy, lasting relationships with the people around you. You cannot sustainably give what you do not have. True self-care functions as a strict, necessary discipline required to maintain a stable mind and a functioning society. Inner peace is never acquired from external validation. It is strictly dictated by the standards you use to treat yourself. Which brings us back to that exhaustive, universe-wide search for a deserving recipient of love that the Buddha described. The instruction is to stop the relentless outward search for validation and begin redirecting that profound empathy completely inward. You yourself, as much as anybody in the entire universe, deserve your own love and affection. True compassion requires a stable foundation. You are always the required starting point.